She asked you to help, and you thought, sure, I can help. She needs help. I'm available. But the help is starting to be overwhelming. And now you think, how do I stop helping? That's the question for today's Caregiver Support Live. Welcome, everyone. I'm Denise Brown, and my colleague and friend is joining us today. She's our co host, Jennifer Ritchie. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm
Happy
good.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Okay, let's go. Here's the question. And just as an aside, sometimes we have a question from someone who writes in, and we love it if you need our help. You can write into us or you can join us live. Typically, we're live on the first Friday of the month at noon Eastern Time. And sometimes we have a question that's appeared in an advice column, and that's the case for today's question. And here's the letter writer's dilemma. Here's what she wrote. I previously worked with a woman, Loretta, we're calling her Loretta, who I've maintained a relationship with for over 20 years. We were never close, meeting for lunch type friends, more of a talk once a month type. However, this changed when Loretta experienced financial difficulties, a marital separation, and attempted suicide. She was hospitalized for 2 months and as a result has mobility problems. I have gone to several doctor's visits with her. I'm older and retired. I suggested citywide transportation that runs specifically in her city, and Loretta found it reliable for a time. Recently, she refused the local pain management option, I believe, I believe due to her prior suicide attempt, and insisted on going to a clinic out of town instead. I don't want to continue helping her as I have been. How do I go about ending this dependency? I don't want to hurt her feelings or lie. Loretta avoids asking her husband and daughter for help because they work. And she has another daughter who's 21 but doesn't drive because she hasn't gotten her license. Loretta has offered me money to continue helping her, but that's not the problem. She often has early appointments or ones that conflict with my schedule, which is why I don't want this responsibility. Her situation seems dire at times, but it seems she's had constant hurdles throughout her life. What do you think?
All
What do
right.
you
What do I think? So many things. Let's see. When I first read this, I thought, well, this is easy. She just needs to set a boundary. That's the easy answer. That is never the right answer, though, because there's so much more involved. As you were reading it right now, I was thinking, if the letter writer was a paid support person, and had a schedule conflict, it would be very easy to just say, I'm sorry, I'm no longer able to do this. Here's some other resources. Now, she could do that, but again, there are circumstances here that make it a little more challenging. Um, so clearly, she needs to set some kind of boundaries. How does she do that and still support her friend? Um, the simple answer for me, which again I know is not simple, is Loretta's in a good situation. She has family, she has financial access to financial support. So those are two things that many people don't have. And so there are things that we can do here. There's also community resources available that she may not even know about. So one option would be for the letter writer to help Loretta put something in place that does not involve her, um, and move out of that situation. Um, I know it's not that easy though. So, those are my initial thoughts. What do
Well,
you think?
yeah, it's interesting because I kind of went with, maybe she could slowly stop helping as much by setting those boundaries. Then
Mhm,
I thought, you know what? She's still involved, even if she
mhm,
starts to ease away from responsibilities. And I think the best thing to do is just to say, I can no longer help
mhm.
and give a deadline of when she is done helping.
Yeah,
And again, remind Loretta, there's citywide transportation, something that made me think of hiring home health aide. You said, she offered to pay
yeah.
Loretta. She could look for a home health aide through a local home care agency or on care.com. And she could also look to see what other resources are available. She could contact her area agency on aging and start there.
Mhm,
What's interesting is there's so much guilt around no longer helping. And it's hard when you empathize with the person receiving your help. It's hard. Loretta sounds like she has gone through really trying, difficult, heartbreaking times. And so your heart breaks for her that she needs help. Like who wants to be in a situation where you need help? And it's okay for the letter writer to say, I need to help myself
mhm,
and take care of myself. I loved the letter writer saying, I don't want to lie to her. And I think that's really interesting and helpful. And it's important that we know we don't have to lie to end a responsibility that no longer is something we can carry.
mhm,
And I think it's just a simple, Loretta, I was so grateful that I could help you for as long as I could. I can help you through the rest of the month, and then I can't help you with transportation and what other things that she's been doing. I think it's always helpful to be specific so there's no, oh, but you said it was just transportation you couldn't help me with. I can no longer help you.
mhm.
Here's a couple ideas so that you could put together a plan that is the help I was providing and it's help through other individuals and organizations.
Yes. I was just thinking as you were talking, my grandpa had this very similar situation. He was in his 90s driving himself to the senior center and back every day, 4 miles round trip. And that was the only place he drove. And he had offered once or twice to take a friend who was blind to the senior center as well. And then it got to be too much because she wanted rides all the time and he didn't want to be responsible. He didn't want to, have any kind of burden on him. That's how he would describe it. And the kicker was her daughter lived with her and could, you know, uh, I'm sure she worked and things, but she had other options. And so, but he waited so long to do something about it that he got angry and he got resentful and it became this eating at him and to where he finally was just like, I'm done, and hands off. And it could have been so much more gentle and, um, I don't know, just calmer and easier if he would have just handled it or had us help him handle it as his caregivers, more, quicker and where he didn't just sit on it for so long. Because I could see this happening in the situation where Loretta becomes a burden to her, and we're kind of at the tipping point here.
And what we're avoiding if we say early,
Hmm.
before the resentment builds, a crisis.
Yes.
If the letter writer says, I can no longer help you, I was grateful I could, I just can't anymore. Doesn't have to defend her decision or explain her decision. I just can't any longer. There's a couple suggestions for resources I'll offer for you. The last day I can help you is, and then she sets the date. And if she gives 3 weeks notice, for instance, that's awesome. If she says I can continue helping you through the end of the month and then I just can't. And it avoids the crisis of her just being like, I'm not doing this anymore because we've all been there. And it's that day you wake up where you know you have to do something and you're like, why am I doing this? I'm not doing it. And then you call, let's just stick with Loretta and say, I can't take you today. And then Loretta's like, oh no, who is going to take me?
Hmm.
It is much better to know when your time has been fulfilled. You are complete in helping and say, here's some resources. Here's my last day. In essence, she's like giving her resignation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want to do it in a way that doesn't burn any bridges. Perhaps Loretta would still be a good friend to keep in touch with every once in a while, not every day, maybe not every month, but she would like to maybe keep in touch with Loretta. And this is a good way to do it. And the other thing to remember is Loretta's probably going to be pissed about this, and it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It does not
Yeah.
matter. It does not
Let
matter.
her have her feelings about it.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
don't have to console her or comfort her. She has support around her that can do that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
that's the great part about this is she has options, you know. She
Yes.
just doesn't want to ask, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're not available, you
Right.
know.
And I get it. We don't want to feel like a burden to our family members, especially if there's been a series of really unfortunate, tragic events that you think, oh my gosh, I've put my family through a lot already. I don't know if I can ask them this. And it's interesting because Loretta does sound like she carries some embarrassment, shame. I'm not sure what the right word would be around what has happened in her life, which is why she doesn't want to go to the pain management clinic that's close to her house.
Right.
They must understand what her past history is, and she's embarrassed about it. We get that. I understand that. We've all done things that we think, oh, I don't want anybody to know it, so I'm going to go out of town so no one knows.
Hmm.
And there's an impact on that choice. And the impact is now on the letter writer.
Hmm.
And it's okay for the letter writer to say, I have my own life I'd like to live now. I was grateful for the opportunity to help. I can no longer help. My last day I can help you is January 31st or whatever day. Here are some resources. And then, however, Loretta responds, and it might be that Loretta doesn't get angry, but she cries. That's really difficult too.
Yeah.
And if the conversation starts to get emotional, the letter writer can just let Loretta have her emotional response and then simply say, I'm grateful that we could talk about this.
Hmm.
I'll see you on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you had said crisis, my first thought was, what if she continues this and starts getting resentful? And then Loretta has a crisis like an additional suicidal thing or, a family issue that she needs more support with. And now it's a bigger support and oh, there's more guilt. And so dragging it out longer, you might just be digging yourself a deeper hole, you know? Like, let's get out when we know she has the support. She's got money to handle it. Yeah. And really, I love what you said. I feel like treat yourself like a paid employee, and give your resignation. I mean, that's really, I know that may sound like harsh, but it's kind of what she is, just not paid. This is not like her best friend. This is a person, a person that she's not been super close with. So, and then she could still be like an emotional support. Maybe they go to lunch, she can do that to help her, but that's it. Yeah, I like this solution.
Okay, and be clear about the resources that you're going to suggest. A local
Yes.
care agency, care.com, area agency on aging.
Hmm. Yeah. Or her
Three,
family.
yeah, and her family. And that's enough. And then Loretta has a starting point to figure out what else could help. And because you're giving notice, she has time.
Hmm. Yeah. She could even say, and I don't know if this is maybe going further than she would want to, but if you're going to ask your daughter or your husband to help, I'd be more than happy to let them know what I help you do. And so it could be a seamless thing because then it's like, let's have this conversation with them together. Um, that may be more than she wants to do, but she could offer that.
Talking this out is making me think about something that happened with me. And actually, my brother brought this up on Christmas Eve. My brother, he likes to remind me of all the terrible things that I did during caregiving. Like, there's never any, you were so great about this. He always brings up this one episode I had with my dad. I probably have talked about it, so I'm not going to go into details. But I got really mad at him on the day that the hospice sent the hospital bed for my mom because my dad was making it all about him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, our mom is dying. Just take a back seat for one day, buddy. Then there was this other time. So he had an ostomy. He had bladder cancer and he lost his bladder to cancer. So then they created a new opening that had that connected a bag so that his urine went into the bag. And the older he got, the more frequent there would be blood in the bag. And it would happen and then clear up. So I got used to this, and I got used to this as there's nothing we can do about it. It's just what's happening to his aging 90-year-old body. Oh gosh. Okay. So we were using this home health agency that his doctor recommended that I believe was getting a kickback, that the doctor's office was getting a kickback because they only would recommend this home health agency.
Mm,
Angel was the nurse. I'll always remember this. Angel was the nurse in the doctor's office, and she would only recommend this home health agency. And they were a nightmare to work with. The nurse was late or didn't show up or canceled. Oh, and we would try to get a different home health agency, and we couldn't get the doctor's order because Angel wouldn't refer to a different
mm,
home health agency. Okay, so I'm going on a
nightmare.
little track. Okay, on a Sunday in July, a beautiful day, like magnificent. My dad calls me and says, we need to go to the emergency room. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's an emergency. And he says, I just spoke with Faith, who was the nurse from this home health agency. And she said, we need to go to the emergency room so they can do a blood test or they can do a blood draw to test to see what's going on because of this blood in my bag. He had told me about it. I had assured him that it would stop, that we've done everything we can to consider what could be causing it, and it's just what's happening, but it's not an emergency. I had had that conversation with him on Friday, and he said, oh, okay. Then he reaches out to Faith, and Faith says, you have to go to the emergency room to have your blood drawn. Well, first of all, the worst place to go for a blood draw is the emergency room. Why are we using the healthcare system this way?
Mhm.
So he wants me to take him. Well, what can I say? So I take him, and I am so angry. I don't say anything to him for a period of about 2 hours. We're in the little cubby in the emergency room, and I start texting my siblings, and I am just mad, 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 mad. They do the blood draw, and then you know what? He stops bleeding. When the emergency room physician comes into the cubby, there is no blood in his bag any longer. It has done as I said it would. I was so mad. Oh my gosh. So I bring him back to his apartment where he's living with my mom. And he gets out and he says, okay, thank you. And I had not spoken to him. I still had not spoken goodbye to him. Just could not. I was so angry. I was so angry. I was doing this on a Sunday afternoon in the summer in July in Chicago. And I want to let you know those days are few and far between. That I spent a beautiful July Sunday in the emergency room for no reason. So after that, my parents had their own little powwow, and they actually delegated one of the doctor's appointments to my brother. Because I think they were so appalled at how I behaved. I just couldn't control myself. I just couldn't control myself. So that's what I think of with the letter writer.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself, what I did. although I did what I could to get my dad to just be like, this is what happens. Let's just wait it out. It'll be okay. There's nothing emergent about this. You don't have a fever. You don't have any other signs that there's this raging infection or that something is horribly wrong. It's just your aging 90-year-old body starting really to shut down. It
Hmm.
was what was happening. It was a very slow shutdown process. And what was interesting during his last 2 weeks of life, it was just all blood in his bag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So don't be like me, letter writer. And,
Cautionary tale.
and my brother brought that up for whatever reason that he would take my dad to appointments at this one hospital that it wasn't that far from me. It was far for my brother, but he would take my dad to these particular appointments. And it was because of that July Sunday where I had my own meltdown. And I didn't
Oh,
say anything, but man, it was clear I was angry.
yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah, so I guess that I I think about how do we, oh boy, how do we figure this out when we are the primary family caregiver and it's all on us?
Hmm.
I guess, how do we figure out what our say is and what we do and how we do it?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. And in this particular situation with my dad, I mean, I really did what I could. I had I had consoled him and comforted him on Friday. On
Hmm.
Sunday, when he called, I said, I think we're okay. Let's wait this out. Let's wait till tomorrow. Let's call the doctor tomorrow. And he just would not let that go. And then I didn't want to be the one that withheld
Hmm.
care for him. So I
Yeah.
took him and I was really not nice. I don't know. These are tough situations.
They are. And I think sometimes our carries don't always really realize the impact that they are having when they do stuff like this. And, I was thinking about my mom would make these doctor's appointments and then I would take off work. I would make arrangements and then she'd cancel. She'd decide the morning of that she didn't want to go. And I'm like, I can't just continue to take days off work, uh, to do this. Like, this is affecting other people. I get that you don't, but it wasn't like she was sick. It was like she just didn't feel like it. And that would drive me nuts. And was like, I'm not going to keep taking you to these appointments that you don't go to because, yeah, that would drive me nuts. So, like, and that's like not even that big of a deal, but that is that drove me nuts. I can imagine if it was something bigger. Um,
How
and I
did,
don't know a way to fix that other than saying, I'm not going to take you unless I'm just not available.
oh my gosh, the dynamic in that relationship with a parent is so odd.
Hmm.
It's, it's just very difficult to navigate.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people say they feel like they're parenting their parents, which is not something that I agree with. But I think that feeling is there, like I'm giving them direction now. No, no, what you're doing is you're creating a boundary for yourself. That's what you're doing. So, yeah,
And in creating that boundary, it shifts the dynamics in the relationship.
yeah,
I also agree, parenting your parent is a terrible perspective.
yeah,
Uh, we are never our parents' parents, like never, never,
never.
never. And it's just interesting how you change within that relationship when you start to set boundaries, because
Hmm.
that is not something you do as a child. Like I never,
Yeah,
I'm not going to set boundaries with my parents when I'm 10 years old. I
yes,
suppose in my own way, I started setting internal boundaries around my parents, like what I would tell them, when I would tell them.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
different when you articulate it to a parent then. I can do this. I can't do that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it does take practice.
Oh, very much so. Especially if you have a parent that is, or a carry that is Animated is a word I would use.
Okay. Yes.
Because there's feelings there, there's guilt there, it's just a lot. And it's different for everyone.
Yes. You know what the word was that I was thinking when you said animated, I was thinking overbearing. So
Oh,
you
well,
were
I
both,
did have explosive in my head, but I thought animated was a little less dramatic.
yes, animated. Yes. So I guess I was internally animated when I was in the emergency room with my doctor. And I did kind of have a talk with myself. You've got to get yourself together because you cannot look like an abusive daughter in this
Mm,
healthcare system. You've got to show some kind of care and compassion for, for your dad
yeah.
before they say, but really, to be honest with you, they were confused about why he was there too. And I was like, this home health nurse said, and so my dad follows directions from medical professionals. Whatever the doctor said, how the doctor was a quack. Whatever the doctor said he did, whatever the staff for that worked at the home health agency said he did.
Well,
I
and
oh
that
good.
nurse was probably just covering herself, because if there had been something wrong with him and she hadn't said, go see a doctor, that's what that was all about.
I bet you're right. I
Yeah.
bet you're right.
Sorry to I
Yeah,
interrupt you.
no, I did ultimately switch to a different home health agency. It
Mm,
was a bit of a hassle. What we ended up doing, because the doctor wouldn't write an order for a different home health agency. Could you imagine that?
no.
I had to actually start using a doctor on that made house visits. It was a MD at home. I can't remember. It was nurse practitioners that would make visits to the home. So we started using that. And the whole thing with my dad was I'll only use that as long as I continue using my primary, the quack. And I was like, okay. So then I had to be careful about scheduling appointments with the quack and MD at home so that they both got paid by Medicare.
Mm,
Want it to look like we were double dipping too much. And
yeah.
then every time the nurse practitioner came, it was a conversation with my dad. I still want my doctor. And I would say, you still have your doctor. We can still go to the doctor.
Hmm.
When we got this new home health agency that was referred to us through MD at home, it was night and day. And
Mm,
my dad experienced a completely different experience with this new home health agency. And I think every once in a while, not often, he would say, boy, they're a lot better than Faith. And I was like, yes, they are better
mm,
than Faith. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And because we had this new home health agency, then we didn't have these unnecessary crises. And I'm using my air quotes because they were just professional. They were good. They were reliable, responsible. It was worlds apart. It was an amazing experience using them.
that's good. So uh your feeling about the original one was correct.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And here's the other thing. So I do presentations for discharge planners at hospitals. I did a presentation for discharge planners at my local hospital. And the provider who sets this up works for a home health agency. And we were just comparing notes about different doctors who make referrals to this home health agency. I asked him if he ever worked with my dad's quack. And he said no. And then I said, here's what their office used to do. And as soon as I started saying they would only refer to one home health agency, he said, well, that was a kickback. They were getting paid. I was like, yes,
Mm,
that's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. He said, absolutely, no question about it.
I think that happens way more often than we know.
Yes, and at the time when I figured out this kickback scheme with Angel, I thought I need to do something about it, but I couldn't do everything. Like I couldn't report them to Medicare and take care of my parents. I just couldn't do everything. And I
Yeah.
still feel bad about that there's someone else using that believes that this home health agency that the quack refers is a representation of what it's like to receive home health services, because
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. There's so many better options out there.
Yeah. And I think people don't realize that they can ask for someone else or a different company. I think that happens with hospice a lot. Certain doctors or hospitals are associated with one hospice and they don't realize that they can request another one. Yeah.
Yes, we are consumers in the healthcare system. We have
Yes.
choice, and it's important that we exercise that right to have a choice so that it really is something that's helpful for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we did it.
Think so.
Okay, so we helped the letter writer and we wish her well.
Mhm.
Awesome how much she did to help Loretta. And I think the other the other thought I'll leave us with is just because she no longer helps doesn't diminish all the help she provided. She did a wonderful, wonderful thing helping. And
Yeah.
she keep that memory of how much she helped Loretta, how much she helped Loretta. Just because
Mhm.
she no longer can help doesn't mean that she didn't do something wonderful.
Yeah. Love that.
Okay, Jennifer, for our listeners who'd like to learn more about you, including scheduling a complimentary coaching session, what's your website?
It's just my name, jenniferritchie.com.
Okay, and I include that in our show notes. And I thank you all for listening and watching. And if you have a question that you'd like us to brainstorm about, help you resolve, you can send an email to questions@caringourway.com. You can also join us live, and typically we meet live on the first Friday of every month at noon Eastern Time. You can register to join us by joining our community, caringourway.com. We'd also love if you have insights to add to what we talked about today. Please share a comment. We'd love to know about your experiences. And if this show was helpful, feel free to like and share it with another family caregiver who could use support. I'm Denise Brown. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Bye bye.